In this video, I'm giving you 5 more sleeper spec books with Swagglehaus. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swagglehaus. And in this video, I'm going to do 5 sleeper spec books with Swagglehaus. That is right. Now, I did a video some weeks back that had this same kind of alliteration, 5 sleeper spec books with Swagglehaus. And in this video, I'm going to do the same thing. This is a little bit of an informal series I'm trying to do here on the channel where, every month or so, I think about, a few books that I think are interesting for spec and throw them out to you guys. But before I get into the books for today, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, do one of those things and hook me up. And also, just want to remind you guys, I am still currently doing my 5,000 K subscriber giveaway video. We're currently, at the time of the recording this video, about 80 or 70 subscribers away from hitting 5K. So definitely, if you haven't had a chance yet to sign up or subscribe to the channel, navigate over to that video if you want to win one of the books I'm going to be giving away. Also, thank you guys so much for watching the video yesterday. If you guys didn't see, I did a Grail video where I got my Avengers 1, and as you can see, I got it right up there on the wall. So things are looking great behind me, a little bit uneven with all the slabs, and we'll see how long my OCD is able to maintain under control with that one there. But with that said, let us get into the video for today. And of course, this is going to be 5 sleeper spec books with Swagglehaus. Now, a little bit of a caveat here. I'm not saying that these are amazing picks or that, this is stuff that is actually going to pan out. In fact, a lot of the stuff that I'm thinking about today specifically are actually all books that, typically speaking, you can find for less than $10 or so. So these are the types of spec books that I think, you can get really, really low risk. And then, if they pop off in a Disney Plus show or something like that, these will be the type of books that you can easily turn around for that $30 or $40 range once they get pretty hot. So hopefully you guys like some of the picks I'm going to show you guys here today. And on top of that, a lot of these picks overall are stemming from kind of what we got with Falcon and Winter Soldier, sort of the fallout of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I can certainly spec all day on what we think hypothetically is going to come, but I'm trying to have a bit of a grounded approach to the spec books I'm going to show you guys here today, and talk about what I think actually may manifest in the next year or maybe 2. So anyways, with that said, let us get into my first pick here today. And again, these are all books that typically speaking you can find for, I'd say, under that $10 range. But let's take a look at the book. So the very first book I have here, I talked about this in my live stream, and this is actually going to be Alias number 26. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is actually the first appearance of the RAF. Now, you guys remember, I'm sure you guys saw in Falcon and Winter Soldier and also Captain America Civil War, we had General Ross's prison unit cell called the Raft. And this book is really, really interesting to me. This was made by Brian Michael Bendis in 2003. And, it's kind of got this weird sort of, it's in a Marvel comic imprint called Max Comics, but it's still within Marvel continuity. And, this was a story about Jessica Jones. We know that we might be getting Jessica Jones into the MCU. But that all aside, this is the first appearance of that prison cell known as the Raft. And what gets me really, really excited about this book is that it all feels like we are building towards the Thunderbolts overall. And in the Thunderbolt storyline, one of their, base of operations that they actually run their team out of is actually the prison cell, the Raft. In fact, that's actually how kind of General Ross and Baron Zemo kind of run the team, where, when they get these prisoners put into this location, into this Raft, they offer these villains, the opportunity, a la sort of Suicide Squad, the opportunity to work for the team and, maybe get a parole as a result of it. So this one is really interesting to me as it is obviously something that we have seen currently in the MCU. And I will assume that when we get the Thunderbolts, we will continue to see this location time and time again. Now, I know what you might be thinking, like kind of a location, kind of a weird spec to do in this current market. But at the same time, when I compare this to other things like, first appearance of Madripoor and how that book shot up during the course of Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think that the only reason that this book hasn't caught on in the spec market is simply because people don't know that the Raft's first appearance is in Alias number 26. So this one is a really interesting book to me, as far as like if the narrative ever sort of catches on that this is sort of a key book within context to the Raft and the prison cell and the Thunderbolts and everything like that. I really think that this book has, a lot of opportunity to grow. And for that reason, it is my first sleeper spec book. All right, let's go on now to my second sleeper spec book. And this one is a really interesting one. This one is actually Dark Reign, The List, Secret Warriors #1. Well, that was a bit of a mouthful. Now, what is the significance of this? Well, this one is interesting because this is the first appearance of an organization known as the Leviathan. Now, I am not someone who is super versed in the Leviathan, although I did read sort of the Marvel Wiki in preparation for this video. But why did I specifically point them out? Well, the Leviathan is an organization that Contessa Fontaine actually belongs to within Marvel continuity. And of course, you guys know we got Contessa Fontaine in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. She's played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, better known as Elaine from Seinfeld. And one of the organizations that is revealed that she ends up actually working for is this group known as the Leviathan. And so that is really interesting to me that, we know that, she's currently in some kind of governmental capacity within context to Falcon and Winter Soldier. We think that she could be Madam Hydra. Perhaps they're going to build up Hydra once again, or, perhaps it's going to morph into what is more aligned to her comic book story, which is, this group called the Leviathan. And one of the key things that I think is really interesting about this is that the Leviathan have actually their roots within the country of Russia. So why that's really exciting to me is that we know that Julia Louis-Dreyfus, or, it's currently rumored that Julia Louis-Dreyfus is going to make an appearance in the Black Widow movie. And where is Black Widow from? Well, she's from Russia. So you have all of these ties to sort of like the KGB and that sort of like underground governmental agency area within like the Russian space. And the Leviathan are one of those organizations that could actually be something that, Kevin Feige pulls into the MCU. Perhaps, behind, all the closed doors and the secrets, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is actually working for this group known as the Leviathan, and they will sort of be kind of the new Hydra within context to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So Dark Reign, The List, Secret Warriors #1 by Jonathan Hickman is something that I think is really interesting as a spec book, as it pertains to Contessa Fontaine, and as it pertains to the possible organization that she might be working for in the MCU. And this is their first appearance, known as the group The Leviathan. We're going to continue to talk about sleeper spec books in a second, but before we do, let's take a minute to talk about Key Collector app. What is Key Collector app? Well, Key Collector app is an app that allows you to find hot and key comic books just in the palm of your hand. So let's say you want to do your own research about sleeper spec books. Well, you could get Key Collector app and search Valerie Cooper or Contessa Fontaine and find out what other key comic books relate to their storyline. And the best part about Key Collector app is that it's actually free to use, but there is a premium subscription service that if you use my promo code Swagglehaus, which you see on the screen there, you will actually get 2 weeks for free. And this service gives you access to hot keys, spec books, and dollar bin dimes that you may want to find and know about when you're out there hunting. So use Key Collector app, promo code Swagglehaus, highly recommend. All right, let's go on now to the next pick. And the next pick is actually also rooted in this idea of Contessa Fontaine. Obviously, she had a huge role in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And one of the things for me was like trying to figure out, okay, well, where is she going with her, whole, what is she tied to? Who is she aligned with? Who is she working for? And one of the things that I thought was really interesting that it could possibly lead to is this book right here. And this one is known as the Uncanny XMen 199. And what is the significance of this? Well, for starters, it is the first appearance of Rachel Summers as the Phoenix. And you can see there clearly on the cover, Rachel Summers is the daughter of Cyclops and Jean Grey. This is the book where she becomes the Phoenix. And that's kind of a nice, bonus to have in this comic book. But the real reason that I'm excited about this is that this is actually the first appearance of the team known as the Freedom Force. Now, for those who don't know, the Freedom Force is basically the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. When they got in touch with the government, they morphed into the Freedom Force in order to work on behalf of the government to sort of like in the same way the Thunderbolts did, win their freedom back if they do service for the government. So it was a team led by Mystique and featured like the Blob on it, featured Pyro, featured Earthquake, I believe it was, and that they were known as the Freedom Force. And they had this they were the government arm that would sort of deal with all of kind of like the mutant threats. And their leader, their founder, is actually a character known as Val Cooper. Now, Val Cooper, she made her first appearance in Uncanny XMen 176. And one of the things that I think is really interesting about this is that even though Julia Louis-Dreyfus, her character's name is Contessa Fontaine, she does have that line that says, don't call me Val. And I do wonder if that was sort of an allusion to Valerie Cooper as a character. Now, Valerie Cooper is a high-level SHIELD governmental person who had a lot of ties to different plot lines throughout the Marvel universe within the 80s. She made her first appearance in this book here, number 176. She was the founder of the Freedom Force. She also was the one of the figureheads who would actually get rid of Steve Rogers' Captain America and replace him with John Walker. She was the one that found John Walker within context to the comic book. So Valerie Cooper, as a character, better known as Val, is actually something that I think perhaps when and the MCU was coming up with a storyline for Contessa Fontaine, they actually took Contessa Fontaine and they kind of married her character with this other character known as Val Cooper. So if that is in fact the case, this book right here, which is not technically a sleeper pick for myself, 176 is her first appearance, but this book right here is where Val Cooper establishes the Freedom Force. And it could be, in my opinion, that maybe as the MCU is sort of building towards mutants, what Contessa Fontaine's relevance to the storyline is going to be is that maybe she's working for the government and not necessarily for the Thunderbolts, but maybe she's actually founding the team known as the Freedom Force. And perhaps she is going to have a big hand in sort of the mutant storyline moving forward. So for that reason, Uncanny XMen 199 is my third pick here. First appearance of the Freedom Force, founded by Val Cooper, who maybe, for our purposes, will be Contessa Fontaine. And if you want this bonus here, bonus pick, Uncanny XMen 176. This is the first appearance of the character Val Cooper, who feels like might actually be what they're pulling from for Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character. So definitely a book to sort of watch out for, because when it becomes more clear what her storyline is, perhaps the market will actually feel like, hey, she's actually more representative of Val Cooper than she is of Contessa Fontaine. All right, let's move on now to my fourth pick. And my fourth pick is actually going to be Captain America 310. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of a team known as the Serpent Society. So we know that a couple things right now going on in the MCU. One, in the Loki trailer, we saw there was a tease for the Roxxon Corporation. In fact, throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, throughout their history, there have been many allusions to the Roxxon Corporation. Now, for those who don't know, the Roxxon Corporation is a evil corporation within Marvel Comics. They always get their hands into like sort of that corrupt political sphere. They're doing a lot of evil corporation things. And one of the things that they do is they actually hire villain mercenaries to do their evil biddings. Excuse me, couldn't talk. And one of the organizations that they often work with is this group known as the Serpent Society. Now, we also know that in Falcon and Winter Soldier, it pulled a lot of inspiration from the Mark Gruenwald storyline in the Captain America comics of the 80s. Well, one of the other things that Mark Gruenwald created within context to, around that time period was the Serpent Society. That he created this group of this mercenary group of villains. And additionally, it was one time rumored that Captain America 3, which would become Civil War, was actually once upon a time going to be Captain America and the Serpent Society. So we know that Feige has been thinking about them. And Captain America 310 here, this is the first appearance of that organization known as the Serpent Society. It is also the first appearance of a few members of the Serpent Society team. You see there on the cover, you have Anaconda, but there's a lot of other members. In fact, there's a ton of members on the team, so I'm not going to name all of them. But with all this discussion of Madam Hydra, perhaps, Contessa Fontaine is doing Madam Hydra. One of the other things that I think is interesting, she might actually end up having ties to the Serpent Society, because Madam Hydra, aka Viper, was actually one of the leaders of the society at one point. So this is another book that I think is super, super interesting, a sleeper pick. And again, something that I do see in LCSs, easily under the $10 range, if not the $5 range, time and time again. So Captain America 310, first appearance of the Serpent Society, definitely something I think is really interesting. All right, let's move on to my last pick. And my last pick is going to be the Invincible Iron Man number 120. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is actually the first appearance of Justin Hammer. That is right, Justin Hammer. Now, if you guys don't remember, Justin Hammer is actually in the MCU. He was played by Sam Rockwell all the way back in 2010, Iron Man number 2. And again, I think, a lot of people didn't love that movie, but everybody, I think, who did watch the movie definitely spoke very highly of the Sam Rockwell character. I think he did a great job with Justin Hammer. And it seems like, now that Iron Man is sort of off the table in the MCU, and there's like, we know that we're going to get the Armor Wars storyline coming up. And we got that tease at the very, very end where we saw Sharon Carter on the phone with somebody saying, now that I'm in this position, I can, we can get all the weapons we want. We can get all this stuff. And that got me thinking, perhaps this is them laying the foundation for Justin Hammer, Sam Rockwell, to make a reappearance back into the MCU. So for that reason, Invincible Iron Man number 120 feels like a very, very undervalued book currently in this market, being that this is his first appearance. And this is one, again, that I see from time and time again, under that $5, $10 range. So this one is really, really interesting. And it feels like a pretty safe bet that at some point, whether it's on the Thunderbolts side of things, whether it's on the Armor Wars side of things, whether it's on, the Ant-Man side of things or AIM or something like that, that we will eventually get Sam Rockwell, Justin Hammer back into the MCU because he plays an important role as a character within Marvel Comics when we talk about all these things like, the Thunderbolts and AIM and all the government stuff when it comes to superhero regulation and General Ross. So it feels like Feige would want to bring Sam Rockwell's character back onto the table. And for that reason, Invincible Iron Man number 120 is my 5th sleeper pick for sleeper spec books with Swagglehaus. Anyways, that is all I have for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed some of my picks and you guys think that they might be interesting. Again, I am not a guru with this stuff. I cannot see into the future, so use discretion if you guys are going to spec on any of this stuff. But for being that all these books that I named today are actually pretty low buy-in, it feels like they could be pretty low risk and pretty high reward if we ever get any of them in the MCU. Anyways, that is all I have for this video. Hope you guys like it. Drop me a like, comment, or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and also be sure to sign up for my 5,000 subscriber giveaway in case you haven't. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.